Jennifer. Hi, everybody. How we doing? Good. Happy to be here. This is kind of a dangerous time to be doing a presentation. Do you guys know what I mean? It's early in the morning. We're kind of a couple of days into this. I understand there was maybe a bit of a beer crawl last night or some VIP parties. You guys with me on that? So sometimes around this time, I start to see what I call the salmon face. And sometimes, if things are bad and the energy's not right, I start to see riding the Bronco. You guys with me on riding the Bronco? Do you guys like me or not? I'm trying to get a vibe of what's going on here. I seem to like you guys. I don't think we're going to have any problem with energy today because this is going to be exciting. The vibe I'm getting is that you guys are fully engaged. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of intelligence in this room. Am I reading that right? To get the energy going, can you turn to somebody next to you and give them a high five, you guys? We just got to get a little bit of energy going. Give a high five. Those were some weak high fives, you guys. Somebody was trying to go fist and somebody was trying to grab it, but that's okay. It's awkward and we're fine. We'll move on. I'm super excited to be talking to you guys today about a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, which is creativity and innovation. I've been talking about creativity and innovation for years and years and years. I've had a great opportunity to travel around the world and talk to different industries about the topic. And what's interesting, 6 years ago, I would go into companies and I would talk to them about creativity and innovation. And it was kind of like an open enrollment, kind of elective course, and people would come in for the day. We'd spend all day creating great ideas for their business, and people would get excited, like, oh my God, that's actually a good idea, let's do it. And they'd be giving each other high fives, even if I didn't ask them to. And by the end of the class, the people would leave, and the ideas would literally and figuratively make their way to the trash can, and nothing would ever happen to them. And I used to cry about it at night. But things have changed, and over the last 6 years, it's been an interesting journey. Nowadays, when I go into a company, the word innovation is in mission statements, it's in vision statements, it's in company pillars, so I see that there's more importance on it. The word creativity is making its way to be a leadership competency. There was a recent CEO survey done by IBM, and creativity was the #1 required leadership skill for leaders at all levels within an organization. But the problem is, we see this value, we see importance, we hear the term all the time. It's almost like a God term, innovation, creativity, we have to be innovative. But the question is, what do we do about it? Do we even know how to define it? About a year ago, I was at a pharmaceutical company in Boston, sitting down with about 12 senior leaders, and innovation for this company was somewhere embedded within like the name of their company and their tagline. And I asked these 12 senior leaders to pull out a piece of paper and write down their definition of innovation. How many different definitions do you think I got out of that group of 12? About 13. Okay, pretty creative. So we don't really know what it is. We don't know how to do it. We know that it's important. And maybe instead of just trying to define it, I'll give you some examples and we can look at some case studies or some examples to see what is innovation. Can we see it? So I'm going to put 5 companies up here on the screen. And I want you to look at those 5 companies and determine for yourself which 2 of these companies do you believe to be the most creative or innovative compared to the rest? So I've got Blockbuster Video, I've got Best Buy, Amazon.com, American Express, and Smith Corona. And I'm not talking about Corona, those of you that went on the beer crawl. Okay, Smith Corona. So out of these 5 companies, which 2 do you believe are the most innovative or creative? If you believe that Blockbuster made it to your top 2, I want you guys to stomp your feet. Blockbuster Video. Do you guys remember the 90s? You guys remember renting movies? It was like a date night thing, like you choose one, I choose one, we'll choose one together to see if this is going to work. And Blockbuster was hot. They were at the top of their game. They took out the little guys because they were being innovative. They were doing things like guaranteed movie in stock. I don't know how they did that. Right? They had some really cool like anti-theft things going on, like you give the video over here and then you pick it up over here so you can't steal it. So they were on the top of their game. They were doing so good, they had an opportunity to buy a company called Netflix, and their response to that was to the tune of, we have everything that Netflix has, plus we have brick and mortar stores. Now, where are those brick and mortar stores right now, you guys? Liquidation sale, ghost town, right? Like DVDs for $0.25. Best Buy, if Best Buy made it to your top 2, stomp your feet. If you guys like me, stomp your feet. That was a test, just to make sure you're moving. Good. So Best Buy maybe didn't make it to your top 2. Best Buy is interesting, right? Huge store, massive. I go in there and sometimes I'm like, hello, are you guys open? Is there anybody in there? Maybe you've heard of Best Buy being called the showroom for Amazon. Have you guys heard that? Where people will go into Best Buy and they touch stuff and they play with stuff and they talk to somebody working there who might know something about what they want to buy. They do a compare and contrast, and then they're like, I'll need to think about it. And think about it really means I'm going to walk out to my car, pull out my smartphone, go on Amazon, order it, and have it delivered to me for free in 2 days. But Best Buy is doing some interesting things. If you guys flew in here and you went through airports, you may have seen a Best Buy vending machine. Did anybody see these things? It's like big box retailer, but now it's a small box vending machine. I actually bought some Beats headphones from a vending machine, which kind of scares me, right? Like if my M&Ms get stuck in a vending machine, I freak out. Are you guys with me on that? Imagine getting a $250 pair of headphones stuck in a vending machine. It would be ugly. But Best Buy's doing some interesting things there. Let's look at Amazon. Stomp your feet if Amazon makes your top 2. They're part of the cool kids. So Amazon is interesting. Remember when it was just books, you guys? Remember when it's like, maybe I can buy my textbooks on Amazon, that would be cool, but what can you buy on Amazon now? Virtually anything. Within the last 6 months, let me tell you some of the things that I purchased on Amazon, and don't judge me, okay? I'm just kind of sharing my personal experience with you guys. I bought outdoor lights for my backyard. I bought Lego minifigures. Nerd alert, I love those things. Okay, I bought a PlayStation, I bought hot wax, I'm not going to get into it, and just to prove a point, on Amazon, I bought Fruity Pebbles. I bought cereal. I think when Amazon started, they're like, let's find a distribution model for cereal. We need Fruity Pebbles in the hands of every American. No. But they've constantly changed. They've looked for ways to change what they're doing. I can even use my American Express membership rewards points on Amazon.com. Stomp your feet if American Express is in your top 2. Love it. What do I love about American Express? Compared to these other companies, it's the oldest company up there. It was founded in 1850 as an express business, hence the name American Express. Like they would ship stuff from point A to point B, and they were founded here in New York City, not far from the Javits Center. And over 150 years, they have continued to pivot and change, and now they're offering something very different than shipping stuff from point A to point B. I was doing some work for American Express about 10 years ago, and I sat on a plane next to somebody, and I had my cool headphones on, like, don't talk to me, but he still talked to me. He said, what are you working on? Blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, I'm doing work with American Express. And this guy goes, we use FedEx. Dude, 1900s, like old school. You really think that's a competitor? Speaking of old school, the 5th company I have up there is Smith Corona. Did anybody want to stomp their feet on Smith Corona? Show of hands, how many people know what Smith Corona is? Smith Corona was on fire at one time, right? They were the kings of what they did. And for those of you that don't know, they created really cool machines that probably every office in New York City had. Typewriters. You guys remember typewriters? No, what is that? What's a typewriter? I have one in my basement. It's like an antique, you guys. It's made out of steel. It weighs like 72 pounds. It's got a piece of wood for the space bar. It's awesome. And when Smith Corona was king, they lived in a world that was all about print and then edit. You guys remember whiteout, correction tape, that kind of stuff? But the world changed. And the world changed to edit and then print. And Smith Corona's machines didn't. They stayed in print and then edit. So now they're antiques. If you look at these 5 companies, and you can look at any company, and try to determine, is it creative, is it innovative, and what is the theme that we're looking at, it's really about this ability and this willingness and this track record of constantly looking for change and looking for change that adds value. It's like a shark. I'm never going to stop swimming or else I'll die. If we don't innovate, we die. If I'm not constantly looking for change, I end up in a liquidation cell. So the big question is, well, whose responsibility is it and what are we supposed to do? And I'm saying that it's our responsibility, you guys. Well, what do we do, Rob? Well, I have an answer for you. And the answer comes in terms of this handout that I gave you guys. This is my gift to you, okay? Wave this thing in the air so that you prove that you have it and you're actually with me and looking at it, okay? This is my gift to you. If you guys have a gift for me, give it to me later. It can be after. Don't bring it up now. It's going to be awkward. But I'm suggesting 4 things that you can and should do to drive innovation and change within your organization and within your group. The 4 things are, number 1, the C in CORE stands for challenge norms. We spend a lot of time defining norms. We spend a lot of time fighting for norms, but I'm saying let's define those norms and then let's challenge them to figure out what we can do in a different way. You've got to stay open to new ideas. That's the O in core. If we say change is good and we need change, we're going to get a lot of ideas. Well, here's how we should change. If we don't hear those ideas and we just say, we can't do that, it's not part of our priorities, we already tried that 2 years ago, it's not what we're going to do this year, the ideas die and change doesn't happen. Do we have this ability to take risks? We're behind a new idea, but ooh, it's risky. I'm talking about innovation and change, and anytime we say innovation and change, there's some risk. Are we willing to take that risk? And finally, exploring connections is all about, do you understand the norms and the trends that are going on in the world that we need to adapt to? Because if we don't and the world changes, and we don't change with it, liquidation sell. So I'm going to walk through these, and we're going to talk about them. Before I do that, I think you guys want to do some math. Am I right? Who loves math in here? Let's hear it for math. I like you guys a lot. We're going to do simple math. I know that it's early. We're going to do cumulative sum. So if I said 2 plus 2, you guys would say 4. And then if I added 2, you would say, you guys are on fire. Do this with me. We're going to start big at 1,000. Say 1,000. Add to it. You guys with me or against me? Okay. We go 1,000, 1,040. Okay, now I came out here and I said, I like you guys. This is a good group. This is powerful. You guys are intelligent. I don't know if you noticed the problem. You guys were on fire there for a minute. It was a slow start, but you started to pick it up. You guys are like 1,000, 1,040, 2,040, 2,070, 3,070, 3,090. I thought, oh my God, these guys are great. 4,090. You guys are on fire. You almost wanted to give each other a high five. And then I put 10 up there, and what was the general response? 5,000. Let's stop for a minute, you guys. 4,090 plus 10? Seriously, are you guys with me or against me? What's 4,090 plus 10? 4,100. But we said 5,000. And why did we say 5,000? I don't even know. I mean, some of you are like, I have no idea why I said 5,000. It's like a Jedi mind trick. It just came out of my mouth. I didn't even have a choice. 5,000. You weren't even participating up to that point, and then all of a sudden 5,000 comes out. But why did we say 5,000? There's some good and bad about us saying 5,000. And I'll tell you guys, I've done this all over the world. English is a second language, whatever. We say 5,000. Why? Because unconsciously, subconsciously, our mind identified a pattern. We went 1,000 something else, 2,000 something else, 3,000 something else, 4,000 something else. Our mind, in what, 8 or 9 data points, sees this pattern, jumps to a conclusion and go, the next thing is 5,000. And we didn't even think about it, you guys. We just say it. And it's wrong. But the good news is that ability to identify patterns and react to it allows us to be successful. It allowed you to get here this morning. You didn't have to wake up and say, open one eye, open another eye, pour a cup of coffee. Like, we just got here. Sometimes we don't even know how we get to work. Like, did I drive today? And all of a sudden we're there. That's a good thing. It allows us to be successful in our careers. The bad thing in terms of creativity and innovation, which you can see, number one, we got the answer wrong. And sometimes people are like, well, 4,100, that's not that far off from 5,000. Yes, it is. Isn't it? Like, it's not even close. It's not that bad. It's terrible. It's terrible. My 8-year-old teenage daughter could do better. So what's bad about it? That quickly we jump into norms, we jump into patterns, we jump to conclusions, we get comfortable, we see things that we're familiar with, and all of a sudden we stop thinking. We stop looking. And we jump into patterns, and it becomes the same thing we did yesterday, and we're going to do the same thing next year. So what I'm asking you guys to do is to challenge norms. And it's as simple as, let's define our norms, and then let's challenge the norms. And I'm going to put up on the screen here, if we were to open up a rental car company here in New York City or anywhere in the country, what are the norms for rental car, you guys? We rent by the day, We charge for gas usage. We're going to charge a lot for that, like $28 a gallon. We're going to sell additional insurance, multiple things. Cars are assigned based on availability. When somebody shows up, let's see what we have and we'll give it to them. We're going to have fleet cars, Kias and Hyundais. Okay, Hyundai, make sure you're saying that correctly. We're going to be based at airports, absolutely. That's going to be our #1 place to be, and we're going to be in major city locations, and we're going to have a full staff. These are the norms for rental cars. If I were to challenge those norms, I'd say instead of renting by day, why don't we rent by the hour? Why don't we take the gas charges and the insurance charges and put it into that hourly rate? Why don't we let people pick the kind of car that they want? And instead of Hyundais and Kias, let's let them choose cool cars like Minis and BMWs. And instead of being in airport locations, why don't we have neighborhood locations? And instead of having a staff, why don't we have people, give them a key card. They can walk up to the car, hold it on the windshield, the doors pop open, the keys are in, I get in and drive it, and I don't have any interaction with anybody at this rental car company. Now, as I'm talking about that, some of you might go, Rob, that sounds ridiculous, that sounds impossible, and others of you might be saying, Rob, that sounds exactly like Zipcar, and that's what Zipcar is. I can, right now on this stage, pull out my smartphone because I'm a Zipcar member. I can reserve a BMW. There are 22 locations within a 10-mile radius of the Javits Center. I can reserve a BMW, walk out of here, go pick it up, drive to the airport, pick up my buddy. He's like, you drive a BMW? I'm like, of course I do. Return it 2 hours later. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not paying for gas. I'm not buying insurance, and the thing's going to cost me $30. So we can all define norms, but we can find opportunities for change and new ideas by challenging them. The question that I have for you guys, and this is where you get to pull out your handy-dandy flyer, in that first section under Challenge Norms, it says, list the norms that you are willing to challenge. And let me give you a couple of examples. I'm a trainer. I do training classes. I do workshops. I trained in Seattle about a month ago. I had senior execs in there. I had 6 hours to train them. The norm in training is, let's look at a bunch of slides, right? Death by PowerPoint. I had 0 slides in 6 hours. Keynote, Rob, you should go up there and show statistics and graphs. I'm like, no, I'm going to treat it more like a workshop or a training class. The last IT group that I worked with, I said, what about the help desk? How could we challenge the norms around help desk? And they came up with things like, instead of being an inbound call center, let's be an outbound call center. Instead of being a call center, let's make it more of a Genius Bar or a lounge. Right? Could you imagine somebody, like right now, people are like, oh, my computer broke. I have to call a help desk. Can you imagine, oh, my computer's broken. Sweet, I get to go hang out at the IT lounge. Get to get some snacks. Maybe get some education around technology that I didn't have before. So the question for you is, what are the norms of what you're doing right now, and are you willing to challenge them to possibly come up with something else? That will help us generate ideas. And then the question comes, are we ready for those ideas? Has anybody in here ever seen that show, Shark Tank? Anybody Shark Tank? Not Shark Week. That's a good show. That's a good program. I'm talking about Shark Tank. Shark Tank, usually people have seen it like, yeah, I love Shark Tank. Shark Tank is this show where inventors go on. It's a reality show, the good kind of reality show. They go on and they have their invention or their business, and they're pitching it in front of 4 venture capitalists. Right? And they go on, they say, this is my business, this is what I want to do. Best case scenario, the venture capitalists fight over their idea. And they're like, I'll give you $1 million, and I want to be a part of that. And then the other one's like, I'll give you $2 million, and I'll let you manage it and own it and everything else. What typically happens, though, the inventor goes on there, and they pitch their idea, and the investors go, it's not a good idea. And then the guy's crying. He's like, I've wasted my life and all my money, and that's good TV. We're going to play Shark Tank. I'm the inventor, you guys are the sharks. I want you to get a pen ready. I'm going to share with you my business idea, and I want you to honestly write down your gut reaction to it and your response. And don't worry about the relationship, which we're obviously building right now. I want you guys to be real and true on what you think of my idea. Are you guys ready for it? Don't blurt out your response. I want you to write it down somewhere on this form. What do you think about my new idea? Do you guys remember the 80s? There's usually somebody that's like, I wasn't even born in the 80s. Like, get out. Okay, so in the 80s, we had scratch and sniff. That's part of my idea. The second part is clothing. My business idea is scratch and sniff clothing. You wear it, you scratch it, you sniff it. Write down your gut reaction. Okay, really, write down your reaction to my idea of scratch and sniff clothing. Write it down so that you can look at it. I want you to look at your reaction, and we're going to put it into 2 buckets. One bucket is, Rob, I wish I could run up there and give you a high five right now, man. I want to be a part of this thing. This is awesome. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And the other bucket is more critical or negative. Well, I don't think it'll work. It's stupid. How are you supposed to keep the smell on the clothes? If you were part of that first bucket, Rob, I want to give you a high five. I'm 100% behind this. I want you to say, woo! I like you guys, okay? We've got some teachers' pets in there. If you look at your response and it's kind of critical or negative, and don't worry about our relationship, I want you to say, boo. How dare you? That hurts, you guys. I've never had like hundreds of people boo at me at one time. I feel like I'm Lady Gaga. Let me tell you, I co-developed and taught a course at Fordham University here in New York City, and the course was called Innovation and Resilience, and it was for entrepreneurs. And for 15 weeks, I had these students work in small teams, and they were coming up with these really innovative business ideas. And for 15 weeks, they're massaging their ideas, they're doing their research, they're creating their business plan, all this fun stuff. And at the end of 15 weeks, the last night of the class, they got into their teams and they came and they were to give us a 15-minute presentation on their amazing business ideas. And you're probably like, Rob, tell us the amazing business ideas. I can't, it's top secret. I will. You guys know deodorant? The natural response is yes. So I hope. You know the deodorant thing where you spin it like that? So and it comes out the top. The business idea was that, but deodorant, it's not filled with deodorants, it's full of peanut butter. Not to like put on, but like as a spread, okay? Like then you're gonna get all the peanut butter and it's kind of fun. So it was new packaging. So on the last week of class, they had 15 minutes to present their ideas. And I sit at the back of the class and I'm like, I have no idea how this is gonna go. This is either gonna be a pass or a fail, it's a win or a thumbs down. And the first group gets up there and they're wearing suits. I'm like, ooh, they look good. And they got up there and for about 12 minutes, they gave their presentation. And as I was sitting there as the professor in the back, one tear started to well up, and I was just so proud. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. They finished their presentation, and I said, we got a couple minutes for Q&A. Let's open it up to the group. And their peers raised their hands, and guess what came out of their mouth? It was like claws, you guys. You can't do that. Copyright issues. We came up with that idea. It's never going to work. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. And my one welled up tear, all of a sudden I went Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River. I mean, I was just like, this is terrible. I felt so bad. For some reason, we believe that our response to new ideas should be very critical and cutting it down and saying why something won't work. Mark Parker, the CEO of Nike, said, great ideas and bad ideas have something in common. In the beginning, they both sound ridiculous. So how can we hear these new ideas, these opportunities for change, and assess it to say, is it really something that I can move forward with? And I want to share with you guys an acronym because acronyms are red hot. So under being open to new ideas, you see my acronym called POINT. And if you flip your card over, we have some new and more information on POINT. You can even then flip it over twice and you're on the same side. Are you guys with me or not? I think so. So what does POINT stand for? The P in POINT stands for positive. When I'm assessing a new idea, the first thing that I want to look at is what can I say good about it? As impossible or crazy as it seems, can I think of anything positive about scratch and sniff clothing? It could simply be that aromatherapy is red hot right now. That's a positive. The O is around opportunities, and opportunities I look at it 2 ways. One is to say, if this idea were successful, what would be the benefit? How many people have shirts? Good. Yeah, we're getting some. I do. I have a shirt. You do too. The only people that don't have shirts is the naked cowboy and the naked cowgirl in Times Square. You know what I mean? Everybody else has shirts. There's shirts all over the place. So imagine if scratch and sniff shirts are so hot that everybody buys them. That's money. The other part in opportunities that I want you to think about is to say, what other ideas does this generate? Now, you might say, scratch and sniff shirts, that's stupid. But scratch and sniff bow tie, that might be cool. Scratch and sniff kitty scratch thing. Do you guys know what I mean? Where the scratch post? Maybe I do that as scratch and sniff, and then every time my kitty cat scratches that, it makes my house smell good. So that's what I mean by opportunities. And third, and only third, do we talk about issues. I'll tell you, generally speaking, our go-to is to talk about issues. I hear your new idea, here are the issues. And I'm saying do it third. You've got to build that momentum. You've got to have that positive energy, and issues are okay to talk about. But here's one of those things where the presenter says, if you remember anything from this, remember this. And it's that you should phrase your issues as a question. If your biggest issue for scratch and sniff clothing is the smell's going to run out, if I just say the smell's going to run out, our brain stops thinking and goes, no, I guess you're right, the smell's going to run out. But if I ask a question to say, in what ways might we ensure that the smell stays in our scratch and sniff clothing? When we ask our brains a question, we cannot help but try to answer it. And just by me saying those words, in what ways might we ensure that I can keep the smell in the clothes, your brains are firing off going, well, we could have a spray that does it, maybe we have an adhesive that we reapply, maybe we can put it in the laundry detergent so it gets a refresh every time that we wash the shirt. And new thinking, the NT in point, are the answers to that question around our issues. This simple format can change the conversation from, here's my new idea, I don't like it, to here's my new idea, let's talk about it and see if there's any merit. Let's talk about the potentials of this idea and decide, it sounds crazy right now, but let's decide if it's going to be a great idea. I'm going to ask you guys to do something. You got to work with each other. No, I didn't sit by anybody because I don't want to talk to anybody. Too bad. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and in 30 seconds, I want you to talk to one or two people around you, and this is a simple task. I want you to think of my idea as scratch and sniff clothing, and I want you to come up with 2 positives and 2 opportunities, and you only have 30 seconds to do it, and you've got to talk to each other. 2 positives and 2 opportunities, 30 seconds, go. Write down some things. Give me a positive, guys. Give me a positive. It's easy to mark. It's funny. Give me a positive. Hello. Hello. You want to come sit in the... You want to come sit in the... Give me a positive, guys. Positive.
Wouldn't have to use deodorant.
I love it, man. Look at the bald guys always come through. You guys, the bald guys always come through. Your 30 seconds is up, my friends. Let me pause you. Whoever you just talked to right there, give them a high five because you guys had a shared moment. Oh, the high fives are getting better. We had like a no look, kind of a how I met your mother kind of a vibe. So I went around and I talked to some people and I said, tell me what you came up with. And probably a person I wouldn't have expected to say this just said, sexy lingerie. It's this bald guy right back here. No, I'm kidding. But I really did hear that comment around sexy lingerie. Right? So and when we talk about positives, somebody said, well, it's yet another opportunity for us to reach out and touch somebody, which is creepy. I mean, I liked you guys, but now I'm getting kind of these creepy responses. When we talk about opportunities, people say, well, maybe it's not just clothes, or it is clothes, but maybe we can partner with perfume and cologne manufacturers, and that's their new way to distribute smells. I had a couple guys back there that said, it's the solution to deodorant. We don't even have to wear deodorant anymore. We can use our empty deodorant bottles for peanut butter distribution, and we just wear scratch and sniff clothes. So I hope you could see the difference. 5 minutes ago, or less, the majority of you were like this, boo. And we put a methodology in place to say, let's talk about it, and there was excitement around this thing, and we were seeing high fives. That's how important a point analysis can be so we can stay open to these new ideas for change, which might sound ridiculous. Now, after we come up with the ideas and we start to build momentum, the big task is, are we willing to take some risks to make it happen? And when I look at risks, I think of it as 2 things. Number 1 is kind of actions. Can we move this thing to market, and how so? You guys reading The Lean Startup? Anybody read The Lean Startup? I love the piece around minimum viable product. We're going to test. We're going to prototype. The days of let's spend a lot of time and money and hours and resources building something so that it's perfect and then let's launch it 2 years down the road, those days are gone. You launch that thing when it's perfect, and what's happened? It doesn't even have a need anymore. Somebody already beat you to it. So this idea of testing and prototyping and minimum viable product and getting it out there and learning and rebuilding and version 7 and beta testing, all that deals with taking risks. The second part of taking risks is really a climate and a culture piece. Do you or do the people around you feel comfortable taking a risk and possibly failing? What is the culture like? I was in Seattle last month. I had an opportunity to sit down with the CIO of Costco, and he was talking about how their staff is growing and growing and growing. And one of the people in the small group said, "Why is your staff growing so fast?" And he said, "The world is changing fast. And we're taking risks, and we're out there. We're building stuff. We're blowing stuff up. We're breaking stuff, and we need staff to go in and fix it." So the question to you that you see on this flyer is, how can you make risk or failure okay? We have all these metrics around success, but what if we set a metrics for failure? I could say 90% of everything that we do must be successful. I could also say 10% of all that we do must be failures that we learn from, or 20%. So now people go, "Oh man, I have to fail 20% of the time. Sweet, I'm all over that. I'm going to take a risk and do something different." So taking risks is about prototyping, and it's about setting that culture and that climate. And the last piece we'll talk about is our ability to explore connections. Are you aware of the trends? The fact that you guys are here at this expo and this conference tells me that you want to understand what the latest and greatest is. That's good. There are some very formal ways you can go out there and explore connections, and I've listed some of the major trends on here. I have things like aging populations. We all know that that's happening. That's going to be the largest population on our planet. We have things like big data. I'm sure you guys deal with big data all the time. There's this trend. I can access everything. How do I use it? How do I monetize it? There's trends around millennials. Millennials is the biggest part of our workforce. Do I understand what millennials are about and how to treat them and how to pull their knowledge, etc.? Gaming mechanics is a huge trend. When I say gaming mechanics, it's not just games, you guys. It's like Starbucks giving me stars every time I buy a coffee so I can get a free one. It's Monopoly at McDonald's. It's holding a workshop like this and having a prize. Did I mention that I have a prize? Do you guys want to see the prize? Rob, what is it? This is a scratch and sniff t-shirt. Okay. Did I create this thing? No, Old Navy did. It smells wonderful. I'm going to toss it out. I've always wanted to do this. How about this side? How about the middle? How about over here? Middle. This side. Whoever catches that has to wear it. It's a youth female size, like for age 14. And when we see this guy, we have to scratch him and sniff him. So gaming mechanics are hot, but I'll tell you, you don't need to be all caught up in, well, where do I research and what are the formal ways for me to see what the trends are? You've just got to go out there and open your eyes, you guys. You've got to talk to people, pick up some trade magazines that have nothing to do with IT and see what people are talking about. Let me give you a case in point that might shock you, and I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to redeem yourselves, because I know when you said 5,000, some of you are just beating yourself up like, I can't believe I made that mistake. I hate this. So here's your opportunity to redeem yourself. I told you I taught at Fordham. 30 students here in New York City, juniors and seniors in college. So these guys are like, I don't know, 22 to 28, okay, 30 of them. The question that I want to pose to you, and I want you to think of your answer, is how many of them had a Facebook account? Okay, this is last year. New York City, Fordham University, 30 students. The question is, how many of them had a Facebook account? I want you to stomp your feet if you believe that number was less than 10. I want you to stomp your feet if you believe that that number was between 11 and 24. I want you to stomp your feet if you believe the number was 25 or more. I want you to stomp your feet if you think the number is 5,000. You're just stuck on that. All answers today, 5,000, you guys. So it sounded like the majority were in more than 25. When I got the class list before I taught, I said, I'm going to go on Facebook and find these kids, and I was not able to find them. The actual answer? 4. And on the third week of school, I asked them to write me a paper around, do you use Facebook, why or why not? And the majority of the answers, 26 of them, said, no, I don't. And they talked about privacy. They talked about time suck. They talked about their older brother and sister were addicted to this thing and they want to get away from it. They talked about they need to create real relationships because they're going to enter the workforce. If I'm not aware of those trends and I'm not talking to people and asking the right questions and keeping my eyes open to see what's really going on all the time, I'm going to miss out on something. Imagine if I'm trying to target these college students and I'm like, it's all about Facebook, and guess what? 26 out of 30 are not there. I've given you guys 4 things to do today. Challenge norms, generate some new ideas, be open to those new ideas by using the point system, have an ability to take risks. What actions can we take in terms of prototyping, or how can I make it safe to take some risks for myself and the people around me, and exploring connections, which I'm sure you guys are going to continue to do and look for those trends. I've loved spending this time with you guys. I hope by looking at those 4 things, you've identified at least something that you can do to be more of a driving force with innovation and creativity. Don't wait for your company to do it. I'm going to end with 2 quotes. One is from Gandhi. Be the change that you want in the world. You guys will determine where IT goes in the future. And the other one is a little more current. It's from Michael Jackson. You got to start with the man in the mirror. Shimon! I love you guys. Thank you for your time. My website and email are on the bottom. Please stay connected. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.